the book of Jonah, it ends, like you said, on a cliffhanger. But with Jonah writing the book, how do you kind of see Jonah being able to write a book about himself in that light?
A great point. Now, I don't know that Jonah wrote the book. It doesn't indicate he wrote the book. But it's clear that he must have been the source of the material. Or how would you know what he had said in the fish? How would you know about his dialogues with God? So even though I think it makes most sense to say that someone later on wrote down what Jonah told about himself, and I think most commentators either think it's a total legend, as you know, plenty of them think it was just made up. I'm not one of those. I got my reasons. I mentioned them in the beginning of my volume. I try to explain some reasons why I don't think it's a fairy tale. The people then who do think it actually happened would not say that Jonah necessarily was the author, but he certainly was the source of it. It probably was the story he told about himself. And here's the great thing about that. Jonah is sort of like my Peter. They say that the Gospel of Mark was probably, the source of the Gospel of Mark was probably Peter's reminiscences. Read the Gospel of Mark. Peter looks terrible, absolutely terrible. He looks worse in that Gospel than any other, and yet tradition says he was the source of that Gospel. So my guess is Jonah, somebody, we don't know who wrote Jonah, Jonah was the source, and somebody wrote it down, but he looks terrible. Why would anybody tell a story that makes him look so bad? And the answer is, I do think he must have understood the grace of God in the end. Only a repentant sinner, only somebody who understood the grace of God would ever tell a story that made him look so bad. So I actually have when people say, well, what do you think happened to Jonah? I said, I have fairly good assurance that he got it. He figured it out. He gave God a good answer, and he began to see that he was as wicked as the Ninevites, if not worse, and that he also was living only by the mercy of God. And I think when that finally hit him, I think it changed him. And I think the only possible way he would have told a story like that, in some ways, the book of Jonah is Jonah's confession. So that's what I think happened.